Hello and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. I have completed leveling my Sage job here to level 90, which means I now qualify for all healer role quests. I probably could have done them at 89, but I want to do them all in one go, without too much grind. Alamigo. Far from free, the Alamigan delegate at Razahan has grim news to convey. If I to lend us your aid, I will appraise you the situation. We receive reports of a creature believed to be a blasphemy stalking the streets of Alamigo. Troops have been assigned to track and slay the beast, but there will likely be casualties. With most of our healers posted elsewhere, we had thought to petition you for aid. I'll be glad to help. Once again, we're in your debt. We shall inform Commander Aldin forthwith. My comrades of the Immortal Flames will be glad to have you watching over them. You see, as there's been no sightings of blasphemies in our lands, we've joined the Alamigan allies in their hunt for the fiend. Trouble is, the majority of their own healers are working day and night to treat the tempered Imperials at the Palgathon. For that reason, we'd be glad to get your help. Your presence alone would be a great comfort to the troops, I imagine. As this time of essence, I must ask you make your way to the Alamigan quarter and report for duty. Commander Aldin is overseeing the hunt, and he'll explain it all on your arrival. May Ralgar grant you strength. I guess they decided to combine Ul'dah and Alamigo for this one. I imagine in that case it's probably going to be primarily recapping the events of Stormblood, since the caster role quest covered a lot of Heaven's Ward. While you'll usually see Stormblood quoted as the worst expansion in this game, it's not really due to it being bad, it's more that something has to be at the bottom. Indeed, part of me wonders if that's when the class design might have hit it to its peak there, because, well, that's just opinion. But Heaven's Ward did suffer from a lot of tanks and healer stuff, having way too many overlapping skills stuff. And in Stormblood, that's when they first introduced the job meters, like the one here for Sage that's refilling right now. So each job started, and while not all of them were good, like the Paladin's meter was functionally just a nerf to a couple skills that normally had lower cooldowns. Some of them it really fit well, such as Dragoon's Blood of the Dragon meter, and the Black Mage one actually helps you keep track of a lot of stuff, despite it normally being a bit of a busy class. Blasphemy Hunter. Ah, Master Blue, we told you were on your way, but this is even quicker than we expected. I'll tell the commander you've arrived. One moment, please. Glad you could join us. Hey, it's Ruban. Now that a far greater crisis has been resolved, we may and must turn our undivided attention to matters of smaller, but no less deadly scale. Yeah. I do appreciate that they adjust the dialogue based on whether or not you've beaten the Endwalker main story. It's just a nice little touch that makes world feel that much more alive. I like nothing more than to hear about your recent adventures, but I'm afraid such pleasantries will have to wait. As our man in Thavnair has told you, a blasphemy has been let loose in Alamigo. When it first appeared, the city guard were able to get most of the bystanders to safety, and for a mercy, those caught in the chaos only suffered minor injuries. But the fiend managed to escape and has not been seen since. We must find it, and soon, for as long as it remains at large, every man, woman, and child is at risk. As was the case in Thavnair, the blasphemy's very existence seems to spur the creation of lesser beasts. The longer it's allowed to roam free, the more tragedy our people suffer. Did anyone see the change take place? That's probably a lot more relevant than whether or not we know it's a blasphemy. Aye, there are several eyewitnesses that give the same account. A man walking through the Alamegan Quarter fell to his knees all of a sudden, and a moment later was transformed into the monstrosity that we now pursue. Beyond the fact he was a young Highlander, we know next to nothing about him. Even the descriptions of his appearance are too vague to help identify the lad, and we've no clues as to his name or background. For all we know, he might not even been born in Alamigo, might have been the son of some of the refugees who have come to visit. There are other possibilities we're investigating, however. That said, I doubt his circumstances are unique. Blasphemies and beasts are born when men are overcome by despair, and whatever drove him to turn likely could have done the same to another. Therefore, if we are to prevent future tragedies, it's imperative we identify and address the underlying cause. Until we do, we'll have no choice but to deal with the afflicted the only way we know how, by granting them a quick death. For now, would you join the hunt and keep my men from falling prey to these creatures? Are you up to it? As a sage, I offer all my power. You have my thanks. As chance would have it, we've just received word that a number of beasts were spotted in the outskirts of Algana. Troops stationed there have already put them down, but there's wounded in the process. First and foremost, they need medical attention, and that's where you come in. I'll meet you there. Explains why they specifically need a healer's assistance. As nice as the Astro Zicard game is, I think I end up connecting a bit more with Sage. I guess because there's a decent number of attack buttons here, and Numa there is actually a really nice attack. Cures all allies around me, boosts the heals the Guardian, and of course it's just a big nuke to a big in a line. It's not quite as powerful as Phlegma 3, but well, it's an AoE attack that damages foes and heals allies. Hard to say no to that. Wish the recast was a bit better, but oh well. Wounded fighter. It's my own damn fault for being careless. What must or Aldin think of me? Knowing what they are, who they were, could any of us end up like that? Yeah, that's the thing about these blasphemies, or as I call them, witches. Falling into despair causes them to materialize, and anyone can turn, or have turned, since it stopped once I defeated the final boss. However, it's not just a matter of, well, just don't fall into despair, lol. No, as Raubon said, you have to address the underlying problem before you can worry about anything else, otherwise it'll just cause more. Although soldiers were able to lead the beasts away from the village and cull a lot of them, victory did not come easily. At a time like these, our lack of healers is most sorely felt. I dare say they've yet to receive any treatment at all. See their wounds while I survey the area for any stragglers that may have escaped. Once I completed my patrol, I'll head to the village to gather eyewitness reports. Please look for me thereafter. Healing. They added this new interaction in the Shadowbringers. Oh, gods be good, I feel reborn. Hold on, you're Koda, aren't you? I can't believe it, you're the one who inspired me to join the Resistance in the first place, and now you've come to save me in my hour of need. I'll never forget this, thank you. Healing. I quite like the casting pose that sages have. Actually, I like the poses in general. I actually didn't expect the sage to have so many interesting, unique poses, given you're usually just commanding the, commanding your 4 tools to do the job, but hey, it worked out rather well, I'd say. I saw them change right before my eyes. Those weren't monsters I killed, but innocent men. But it had to be done. There were others we had to protect. And thanks to you, I can continue to do just that. Once I've made my way back, I'll give a full account. Families, they'll understand, right? I think in time they'll come to understand, but it's going to be a bit much to ask them to do so immediately. Unfortunately, there's not much else to do other than allow time to heal all wounds here. Arenvald. It was good of you to come all this way, though I never doubted for a moment you wouldn't. The number of negatives in that sentence make it a bit follow, but yeah, I'm sure he appreciates us being here, but never expect us to turn down the offer to help. After all you've done for the people of Girabanya, we couldn't ask for more, and yet here you are. Poor Arenvald. For anyone who doesn't follow this game, He was a paladin ally that helped us out for most of Stormblood and a bit onwards, but at the patch cycle before Endwalker, so between Shadowbringers and Endwalker, he ended up getting critically injured, and unfortunately he's now wheelchair bound. There's no way to recover his legs. So we tried using healing magic and all that. Unfortunately, that's just something he's gonna have to deal with. For treating the wounds of these soldiers, you have my thanks, and theirs too, no doubt. Seems they were indeed successful in slaying all the beasts if my search is any indication, but we must remain vigilant. I've also spoken with several people who witnessed the moment of the transformation, though the ordeal has understandably left them rather shaken. I hear you've been through quite a few ordeals yourself, Coda. A few, yeah. As for me, I've been keeping busy with this or that, like getting the hang of this wheelchair. Obviously, it has its limitations, but it gets me where I need to go. I've been working with this new organization as well, which is what brought me here. But no sooner have I arrived than those locals turned. Ragnfrid, I heard you were there when it happened. What can you tell us? Hey, the ones who underwent the change are the very people we were trying to help. Really? What happened here? Hey, perhaps I should explain from the beginning. The meeting Lise held in the royal palace marked the turning point for all of Girabania. It spurred us to open up dialogue with the people communities we otherwise would have shunned. But there's still so many problems to be addressed and countless souls struggling to build new lives for themselves. I decided to form a volunteer group, the Silver Griffins. Our main concern is the welfare of the Alamegans who sided with the Empire for whatever reason, and helping them find their place in society. In particular, the surviving families of Krania Lupi. I can already get a good idea of where this is going. You've changed your tune. Back in Stormblood, he was one of the people who absolutely hated the Skulls were the Alamegans who worked with the Empire. For a quick recap, the Empire had been in control of Alamigo for well over 30 years by the time we get there, meaning at least one generation had grown up knowing nothing but the rule. So some of them joined in an attempt to become citizens of the Empire. Others are simply loyal to the cause. Others did so simply because they felt they had no choice or had no other way to get money. But yeah, this guy was absolutely against helping those during the events of Stormblood. Yeah, make no mistake, I've not forgiven them. I don't have that in me, and I doubt I ever will. But the memory of that day in the palace of Fordolas can be locked up again after saving us all. It stayed with me. Got me thinking about why she and the other youths would commit such atrocities, why they'd swear to serve the Empire. The answer is simple, because they'd seen what we'd seen and suffered much the same. In a hell where all were condemned, they chose to betray one brother to save another. That's how the Garleans win, not by breaking you, but making you break yourself. Making the choice the right one for a man at the end of his tether. Yeah, that's kind of how the Garlean Empire worked. Whenever they conquered an area, they'd recruit people from there to help conquer further areas. In theory, it's to build more solidarity, but in reality, it's mostly to try and prove them for the new members to prove themselves to the old ones to try and earn respect, or at least pay. Healing only begins with liberation, and I imagine that's not just flavor text. And some scars will regardless. Those who've returned from foreign lands may have difficulty carving out a living here, for those who pledge allegiance to Garlemon. It's not the Alamego we dreamed of, but after 20 years of misery— oh, it's 20 years. I'll not see it all thrown away just because we can't come to terms with the past. That's why I formed the Silver Griffins, to make sure that no one's cast aside. It's a cause I support, and that's what brought me here today. I've been acting as a mediator. Aye, and in the short time he's been with us, he's proven himself as a natural, but despite our early successes, the families of the Skulls continue to refuse our help. Aye, I think I see where this is leading. They're the ones who turned, yes? Comes as no surprise, their kin tormented and murdered fellow Alamegans. Anyone with a conscience would feel shame and guilt. For some, it may even be too much to bear. I think I might know why they're turning us away. It's a sensitive matter, though, so how about we go where we won't be overheard? It's about one of the men who turned. I saw his memories. Yeah, he has the echo, bless. He's a chosen one just like we are, basically, so he could see into memories just like we can. With the echo, I'll not pretend to understand it, but please tell us what you've learned. Yeah, while technically our character is the one doing all the heavy lifting, we are far from the only chosen one. That's been a running theme throughout here. The Warriors of Light are a chosen many in this game's universe. Only caught a glimpse, but that was enough. What makes us special even among the Warriors of Light is that we're the one at the forefront of the story, really. It was during the occupation, a man raising his son. Only the two of them, but they were a family. To keep the boy clothed and fed, he chose to side with the Empire. He knew what others would say, but he did it anyway. And so he was branded a traitor. Every day his son listened to the jeering, the insults, but there's nothing he could do. When he came of age, he joined the Skulls and hoped it'd make life easier for his father. He never dared question his orders, no matter how depraved they were. He died in the Revolution, but not before killing his own countrymen. His father wept not for the betrayer and murderer, but for the man he could have been. He blamed all himself, right up to until the change took him. I can only pray he and his boy finally found the peace they've been denied in life. Alas, theirs is an all too familiar tale. They cannot forgive themselves, nor do they see how anyone else could. Oh, the sins of their kin weigh heavily upon them. They think themselves undeserving of their compassion. They carry on like that, they'll turn into beasts. We have to help them before it's too late. That's right, but how? Now, growing up as a half-Gallian and Alamigo, I know how it feels to be shunned and hated, and to hate myself. But so long as we give ourselves and others a chance, we can change the better. And while I might not be as clever or eloquent as someone like Alphino, I know I can make a difference. Well, to be fair, Alphino only learned how to be clever or eloquent after years of screwing up. I mean, one of the patch cycle storylines for Realm Reborn was entirely around him thinking he could fix everything, and all he did was make things worse. And during Heaven's Ward and most of Stormblood, he wasn't really doing much competent. It wasn't until Shadowbringers that he finally started getting things together. And it made sense, really. I mean, you do learn from failure, after all. I might not be quite the swordsman I used to be, but I'm still a fighter at heart. I know it all to the Abba and Ole to make most of this life as long as I've got it. That's right. We Silver Griffins will give us all to see that no more beasts or blasphemies ravage Girabania again. So, Commander, do we have your approval to continue our work? Cause there's no enemy more formidable than despair, and I'd be a fool to refuse your help. That even single one of our people has succumbed to this transformation is proof of our failure to protect them. Therefore, I pledge Silver Griffins my unconditional support. Together, we will prevail. Now that we have coded here to aid the troops, I believe we are ready to face any beast we encounter. Though I fear it's only a matter of time before others appear. I ask that you lead the Silver Griffins and the Silver Griffins your assistance in the meantime. Very good. For now, let us return to the city. Alright, this is like a job quest where it has to go back and forth from a key location so that you can easily find it. I believe you were intended to do these role quests one at a time. Yeah, basically you get one per level starting at 85 until 90. And dang, you know I've been grinding hard when my rest experience bar isn't completely full. I'll probably still get Astro to level 80 just because... 80? It's 88 right now. But I'll probably get to 90 just like Sage, since healers all share gear, and by doing so I can toss any gear between that I'm not using. With you on our side, those beasts are no match for us. Those who harbor guilt do so not because they are weak of heart, but because they fail to meet the demands they make of themselves. 'Twas the same for me when I believed my failures led to the Sultana's assassination. Despair and self-loathing were indescribable. I was fortunate that you and the other Scions came to my rescue, that I had friends convinced me I was more than the sum of my worst mistakes. Now I must do the same for the people of Alamigo. We must help them to heal and find strength to, if not forgive, then come to terms with who we are, so that we can look to who we can be, who we aspire to be. This is precisely why work the Silver Griffin is so vital. Though our problems are not new, the emergence of this deadly phenomenon means we cannot afford to delay addressing them any longer. We will be better for it, ultimately. Once we've decided a course of action, you'll be the first to know. Until then, may Ralgar watch and keep you. Yep. Yeah, like with job quests, you're intended to do these while you're leveling rather than all at once at the end like I've been doing. So they all start and end at roughly the same area. Sometimes it changes up, but in the general sense, it tries not to send you off on too many different locations so that you can easily find it again when you next need to do the next one. The Butcher's Blade. The Butcher's Blade. Struggle to prevent the emergence of beasts grows increasingly desperate. We're hoping you'd stop by. I'll show you the commander at once. The assassination of the Sultana is way back at the end of Realm Reborn, leading to Heaven's Ward. Fortunately, I can't go into it, but people have compared it to the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones, if that helps any. You're welcome to sight as always, Lieutenant. Alright, because I'm Flame Lieutenant. I need to get that Captain. It's just, you have to do some grindy quests to raise that I haven't done yet. Aye, and a lot's happened since we last spoke. We Silver Griffins have been keeping busy. As have I and my men, but I'm afraid we've little to show for our efforts. Although we've been searching high and low for the blasphemy, we've seen neither hide nor hair of it. Unfortunately, everyone else has had, quote-unquote, better luck. We've received reports of lesser beasts throughout Garabania. Putting them down is just as important as hunting the blasphemy that got away. To complicate matters, rumors have been circulating that these beasts are the Skull's kin. While this was true of the recent incident in Alagana, we cannot have people jump to conclusions given they might feel tempted to do so. Yeah, they're obviously hoping. Well, it's gonna sound weird, but I think they part of the wants it to be the Skull, so that their hatred of them is then justified. But of course, it's the people the people we already dislike were up to no good. You know, that sort of thing. Unfortunately, that's not a very good mentality to have. It is very destructive, and the worst part is just so easy to do. Even I have to remind myself not to do that because it's way too easy. To just fall into the easy thought pattern of, oh, of course the people I already don't like are up to no good again. It has been suggested we take these individuals into custody for their own protection as much as the safety as ours. That would only isolate them further and give credence to the rumor. Yeah, precisely. Yeah. Locking them will just make it seem like, oh, because as much as you could say it's to protect them, that doesn't change the rumors. People will say they're being locked up to make sure they can't transform. And the public opinion can be just as important as the truth when it comes to something that's this recent. Obviously, the truth will end up mattering more once it's all said and done, but that could be years. We can't wait that long, obviously. The recent unrest has hindered the efforts of the Silver Griffins to no end. Therefore, I ask you to aid them. See if there's aught that can be done. Also, you'll be joined by another volunteer. Try not to be too surprised. I thought I had my ears burning. Cordola. I said I don't need to keep it, but did they bloody listen? Did they bollocks? Come now, don't be like that. This is what you agreed to. Besides, you never know when you might be in need of a healer, and there's none better than Coda. He's right, you've earned a measure of trust, and this shouldn't be taken to mean otherwise. Thick as thieves, are we now? There's no need for... Then there's no need of this cutting collar, eh? We all know it's not coming off anytime soon, but this is how it's to be, then fine, so long as he keeps out of my way. I want the two of you to visit the Silver Griffin's headquarters in Alagana. Several relatives of Crania Lupi have agreed to meet with them, and we could do a measure of precaution. Cordola was a member of the Skulls, and she was a major character in Stormblood. Honestly, I felt like she had one of the better arcs. If anyone so much as mentions the Skulls, I'll deal with it, understood? Let's get this over with. She's as much at risk of turning as anyone, maybe even more so. You don't need the Echo to see the weight she's carrying on her shoulders. She's still not got to handle her own Echo either. Sometimes the visions come without warning, and with such force, it's all she can do to stay standing. There's no telling what might happen if she comes face to face with the family of her former comrades, so look out for her, please. Yeah, she also has the Echo, but she's technically not a chosen one. Rather, Prince Xenos was doing some experiments, and he gave both himself and Fordola the artificial Echo. Fordola was, of course, the prototype before he gave himself a much more powerful version, but yeah, so she's an artificial chosen one. Weird as that sounds. But also means she's very important in the general sense, since, as established, the Echo is a protection from corruption of her body and soul. I wish that there's more I could do for her myself. Yeah, she blames herself for his injury since he ended up protecting her because, you know, he's a paladin and all that, but how about we've all got our own duties? I'll see you through in the end. Yeah, he already keeps telling her that he was more than willing to give his legs in service of protecting others like that because, you know, he's a paladin, he's kind of all about protecting the weak and protecting comrades and all that, but well, it's pretty easy to... Well, I kind of know how that kind of mentality works. She took it more as him being a saintly type rather than her actually being deserving of it, if I had to wager. So must we all, follow Fordola's lead. We're counting on you both, but we're ready to step in, even if she curses you for it. I will ensure that my barriers hold strong. I'll admit, this is not quite what I had in mind. I had a feeling Robon would send you, Coda, but her. If you got any complaints, take it up with the commander. No, it's fine. Truth be told, ever since the day at the Royal Palace, I've been thinking... Stop. You don't want to say it, and I don't want to hear it. To the matter at hand, then, we Silver Griffins are working to support the relatives of the Cranialupi. But one family's gone missing, a mother and her parents, who live together under the same roof. One of ours paid him a visit, but they were nowhere to be seen. When we came back inside to check, the house had been torn to shreds. Thick gouges on the floor and walls made by beast claws, but look of them. You think they might have turned? Hey, that's the most likely explanation, but please do what you must before anyone's hurt. There's no time to waste. I'll head west, you head east. Fordola's history is that her family was among those loyal to Garlemon, and the other Alamegans hated them for it. They were absolutely brutal to the point they even murdered her father. And suffice to say, that absolutely motivated her to join the army of the Empire specifically. Probably goes without saying, but it's definitely supposed to show that even the victims of the occupation were not acting innocent at that time, so there was a lot going on. And I do appreciate that it went a bit more into the political strife there. It made the story more interesting, in my opinion. Sense hostile presence is a fell beast. Pneuma is a fun skill. I love it. Survey the designated location, and in the dirt you spy an envelope containing a crumpled, tear-stained letter. Read it. I see no reason why not. Dear Mother, I hope this letter finds you well. Time is short, so I must keep this brief. Although I've never done anything to make you proud, I promise you things will be different when the war is over. Till then, take care and know that I love you with all my heart. Placing the letter back in its envelope, you turn to finding the others. Surveying. You sense a hostile presence. Those neat little hand motions when using Legma 3 is pretty neat, I think. Yeah, this guy is not strong enough to break my shield very easily. Well, I am over-leveled for this particular quest. Time-worn wedding ring. You discover what appears to be a wedding ring with a name and date engraved in the middle. Seemingly no more clues, you decide to report back. Ah, nice. Now what's done is done. Hey, were you able to find anything? Crumpled letter. Though its contents neither verify nor disprove your suspicions, the letter was almost certainly penned by a now deceased member of the Crania time-worn wedding ring. The outer edge is covered with scuffs and scratches, while the inner is marked with only name and date, carefully engraved. Then it is as we feared. I don't killed a third, I was carrying this. A matching ring. I'll deliver these effects to the next of kin and arrange for a funeral, or the closest one as possible under the circumstances. There's no changing the past, we'll always carry it in the scars, but no matter who we were or what we did, we are Alamegans, then and now. The Empire was our enemy then, and now it's despair. Good words and deeds that will serve us best in this fight. Weapons even an old man like me can yet wield. Thanks to the two of you, the missing villagers may finally be laid to rest. I and the other Silver Griffins will redouble our efforts to prevent further tragedies. Finish checking the wares, sir. Everything's in order. Good work. Take a rest, lad. You more than earned it. Sister still, but Everett's younger brother was a member of the Crani He's exactly the sort of person we're trying to help. Like many of the others, he was reluctant to talk to us at first, but after we gained his trust, we were able to help find him work. He's taken to it well. Oh, he's not too happy with Fordola. It's her, it's the butcher herself. Traitors, all of us, kinslayers, deserving of hate and death. Hate and death. Get back, get back! Unfortunately, even my healing magic wouldn't be enough to save him. The good news is, because she's a child, she likely doesn't know who Fordola is, so as of now, she will see her as nothing more than as a hero. Stay away from her! Fordola just saved your girl's life, lady! I know, but she's... Yeah, the little girl sees there's nothing more than a hero. What? She likely doesn't know Fordola's horrible past. It happened in an instant, that poor lad. But it had to be done without hesitation. We'd have been much worse off otherwise. Yeah, this all makes a bit more sense if you do it during the Endwalker storyline. Could you go after Fordola and see to her wounds? I'll see what I can do here. I should probably talk to these guys before I head out. We're not living a song or fairy tale. These problems we struggle with won't be solved overnight. Nevertheless, we've got to do what we can to move people forward as a people united, or we'll have to keep dealing with tragedies like this. I want to say thank you to the brave lady. Do you think I'll see her again? Yeah, like I said, the little girl sees her. She risked her life to save my daughter. Whatever else she may have done, I owe her for that. We have to be careful because Fordola is absolutely at risk of changing because she's the echo shows her everyone's past, and that also means their despair. I'm fine. Leave me be. I said I don't need your help. Hey, I'm a doctor. Let me do my job. Oh gods, you're like a dog with a bone. All right, go on, make it quick. That was a pretty harsh blow she took. Coral can't change its spots, and there's no washing the blood off my hands, nor would I even if I could. Look, we're not saying you need to forgive and forget here, but taking up Garlean Steel was the first choice, but not the last. Like the first kill, the hardest. Every choice after that came easier and easier until I stopped counting, stopped caring. Tell yourself it's right, it's for the greater good. You give the order, feel the ground tremble as the cannon fires. When the dust settles and your own men are buried beneath the rubble, you tell yourself... Me too, huh? I won't let it take you. Ah, ah. The man in the village, I saw his past. I'm the one that killed his brother. I'll be alright. I just need a moment. Can you wait with me? As long as it takes. I don't care how long it takes. I'll stay here as long as you need. Everything the skulls fought for, the sacrifices we made, things we did, in the end it was all for nothing. Sometimes I look back on the road I walked, the bitterness I can still taste, and I wonder, if I'd grown up in another time, another place, would I have done the same to different people? Was this always in me, to be me? All I know is everyone would have been a lot better off if I'd never been born. But I was, and I dragged others into a hell of my own making. I remember those two brothers in particular, childhood friends of mine, and the older one enlisted with me, the younger. He would never have made it as a soldier. He was too kind, too good. Ansfrid died at Specula Impetorius, but his brother's still out there somewhere. Not that I got the courage to face him after what I did. Hope he's found the life he deserves. Hope he's not the one that was turned into that monster. Not all the Craniolupi at the towers died that day, though. I know from one of my visions at least one survived, Rudolph. Glad he made it out, but too many others didn't. Too many others still need our help. I helped make this blasphemy, and by Ralgar, kill the bastard if it's the last thing I do. Anyway, that's enough out of me. I'll be heading back to the city to make my report. I suggest you do otherwise. Yeah, I really don't want to understate just how cruel all the skulls that Fordola was implicit in and helped. Uh, they helped in the occupation, in the general sense, police force against their own people. And of course, had no hesitation slaying. And while it's most definitely a contributing factor that her father was murdered at the hands of the other Elamigans, that it makes sense she's the Empire. It doesn't forgive the things she'd done. Well, like I said, the goal was never to forgive and forget any of it, but holding onto these grudges accomplishes nothing. I mean, say Fordola changed there and we took her out. I mean, what, will that magically bring back everyone who died? Especially since she's... Oh, I should talk to the Blasphemy Hunter. I heard what happened. If nothing else, at least you've seen with your own eyes what we're up against. Welcome back. Fordola's already given her account, and I'd like to hear yours as well. She almost turned to a beast herself. We'll have to take that into consideration before taking her to the field again. As far as the events of Alagon are concerned, the two of you did well. Despite the appearances of several beasts, you were able to prevent any further casualties. However, this does serve to confirm that those with connections to the Crown Lupi should be considered at most risk of turning. Over the years, many of them have drifted away from larger settlements and taken to living in secret. Others made their way to Ul'dah as refugees, including some individuals of interest. As such, we'll be working closely with the Immortal Flames to locate and offer support to those refugees in particular. In fact, I intend to make a journey there for an audience with the Sultana. Once my preparations are complete, perhaps you might accompany me. I'm sure she'll be glad to see you. Truth be told, if they can make a living in Ul'dah, that's actually quite ideal, but that's kind of iffy because Ul'dah can be kind of difficult to get into. That's why right outside the city walls, right outside the gates, there are some people camping out, just trying to find a way to get in to make a living for themselves. I mean, if they can, it's great, but yeah. Ul'dah is a jewel of the desert. It prides itself on having quite a diverse amount of people and businesses there, especially since Nald Thal, the protective deity of it, is not just the deity of life and death, but also trade and commerce. Although funny enough, they haven't added any new NPCs there, since despite having added new races in the expansions. They added Oron, Heavensward, Vera, and Hrothgar, of course, in Shadowbringers. I mean, they did add male Vera. They said that the female Hrothgar are coming later, but the Hrothgar are always the most difficult ones for them to make, since they're one of the very few races that are not just humanoids with accessories. Like Makoti, like my character here, are clearly just regular human models with cat accessories and unique eyes, which was the reason I went with this particular race. I thought it was pretty cool anyway. Well, that and it's Final Fantasy. Gotta go full-on pretty boy. Yeah, pretty boy protagonist. Might as well show off a few of the sage poses here, since they look quite nice. I think so, anyway. Reminds me. Let's display the headgear. Is there a visor option? Oh, there is! I could turn it from a visor to a tiara. We'll hide it for now, I guess. And let's continue. Although I guess, since Ul'dah promises fortune stuff, but it's actually very difficult to get in without connections and stuff, I guess the fact they haven't added the new races and stuff could be considered a, commentary on on some of the hypocrisy that goes on within there. Ul'dah has definitely had a lot going on with it, possibly even more than the other two city states, but that's just off the top of my head. But that's definitely one of the reasons it's one of the fan favorites. It's definitely the fan favorite of them all. Well, that one and Limsa, but Limsa's also, you know, a town of former pirates and all that with the yeah. Quest to protect the vulnerable Alamegans leads to Ul'dah. Here's the commander, I take it. This way, please. Our request for an audience in Sultan has been accepted. Before we depart, I share what we learned since last spoke. Yeah, there's a lot going on with the Ul'dah politics, and that's why it's one of my personal favorites, that's for sure. There's technically something similar going on with Gridania, but unfortunately the story never really got a chance to go into it very much. You do see a bit of it if you choose a character who starts in Gridania, but unfortunately the main story leaves it behind pretty quickly. But Uldah's political struggles are within quite a few parts of the main story, which is also one of the reasons I like it a lot, and Lim Solomon has a decent amount as well. Our request to audience in Sultana has been accepted. Before we depart, I'll share what we have learned since we last spoke. Blasphemy continues to elude us, and while all driving others to succumb to despair every turn. Even with the Alamegan Ul'dah forces searching for signs of the beast and more potential victims, we've yet to discern a pattern in chaos. Nevertheless, if our witch is like the others, its behavior is likely dictated by its passions and regrets of the man it once was. Therefore, any information concerning him and the life he led may help us track it down before it strikes again. We don't want people to shun the families of the skulls any more than they already are, but the fact remains the majority of them have been born from them. They're the ones at greatest risk of turning, without question. Cordola concerns me as well. She came this close transferring once before. It might be best if we keep her out of this after all. Seems like a waste of a capable soldier. Especially one who's chosen like we are, even if it's an unofficial one. I'm inclined to agree with Coda. She was able to resist the transformation and has shown no signs of succumbing since. If she wants to do her part, I say we let her. If only I could go in her stead. Actually, I was hoping you'd come with us to meet the Sultana. I believe she would benefit greatly from your understanding the struggles our people face. You'd gain from the experience as well. While she's not the sort to brandish a sword and charge into battle, you'll soon discover she's a champion of her own arena, as brave as any warrior. Yeah, she's very good at, while the merchants, while the crap, what's it called? It's not the Senate. It's not the Council, I don't think, but yeah. The traders up, while Sultana's not quite a powerless figurehead, she does have a lot of good powers of diplomacy, which is a very important tool, both keeping the rest of the powers of Ul'dah in check, as well as smoothing things out whenever political struggles occur. I doubt she'd have much to learn from the likes of me, but it would be an honor to make her acquaintance. Arnvald and I will go on ahead and wait for you in the hustings strip. We'll see you there anon. For some reason, I keep thinking the hustings strip is the trade area, and I'm not sure why. It's because the Sapphire Avenue Exchange is the one. Alright, I should use this to teleport right away. The Ethernet here. There we are. Excellent. Here everyone is. Papa Sean's pizza. I only let her out of my sight for a moment. It's the first time I've been back here since I discharged myself from the infirmary, without telling anyone. Must remember to stop by and offer my thanks and an apology. Master Papa Sean is just telling us that Nanamo, or should I say, Lady Lilira, has gone on another one of her jaunts in the city. Though it is not my place to question her grace's judgment, I do wish she'd consulted me before going off on her own. Perhaps I'm overthinking it, but it's unlike her to keep guests waiting. If I might say so, sir, with blasphemies appearing throughout the land, it's a dangerous time to be going for a little stroll. I suspect that may be the reason. She wishes to see for herself how the citizenry fare in these trying times. Even so, it's downright reckless. We'll find her, however. No, I couldn't possibly allow such esteemed guests. Come now, we might be our unofficial business, but we're old friends. As you may remember, I've got a knack for tracking down errant sultanas. Some might say a knack is rather charitable. Anyway, I should be glad for the assistance. I'll take a look around here. Quizzing locals will give me an opportunity to learn the recent going-ons in Ul'dah as well. Well then, no time like the present. Fear not, with me on the case, this will be over before you know it. If she's supposed to be meeting us here, maybe we should wait for her to come to us. Between you and me, Robon has never had much luck in finding Lady Llyra. Rather the opposite, which isn't to say he's misrepresenting his capabilities. Perhaps his recollection of events simply differs somewhat from reality. I think you might be being a bit charitable there, Papa Sean. But oh well. Alright, Sapphire Avenue Exchange is the merchant strip, yeah. Okay, and that's probably why it's the merchant strip. No, fun fact, they didn't have this Ethernet shard for a while, so like during Realm Reborn and Heaven's Ward and I think Stormblood, because I believe it was added in Shadowbringers, or was it added in Stormblood? I think it was added in Shadowbringers. But yeah, basically the closest, the closest Aetherite was the Adventurers Guild one here, so you'd have to teleport here and then walk then zone into this area, since that's from a loading screen. Since, fortunately, all the Realm Reborn areas are very small. Oh, I don't need repairs on anything. It's been some time since I last combed these streets for young Llyra. As a matter of fact, Papa Sean and I would compete to see which one of us could find us first. As I recall, most of the contests in my favor. The trick, you see, is to look past the skies and pay attention to gestures and mannerisms. The tiniest movement might give her away. Come, I'll show you how it's done. Follow Rubon's lead and try not to stay behind. Follow my lead. A follower quest. She's fond of perusing the stalls here. Well, if you want to know what's going on with the citizenry, the centers of trade seem like a pretty solid place to be doing so. Along with bars, like the Adventurers Guild. She's not here, where could she be? What if she's been abducted? In one of these pots? Perhaps not. I've never known her to be this elusive. That's odd. I've tried her usual haunts, so unless she's hiding inside a barrel or something equally nonsensical, she must be elsewhere. Oh gods, why should she choose now of all times to run off? What if she'd been abducted or ran afoul of a beast? There's no need to assume the worst already. We can keep looking around. I'm assuming that that person's a paladin. He can't be on the quest. You're right, I know. It's hard not to worry, though. Where could she be? Think of it. Something Papa Sean said might caught my ear. He thought Nanamo went on this excursion because of the emergence of the blasphemy and beasts. To better understand how our people were coping with the situation. If so, she'd be driven to speak the most desperate and destitute. Pearl Lane, then. Ask you to lead the way. I admit my ability to track missing persons may have dulled somewhat. Pearl Lane has ever been plagued by pickpockets and the like. Watch your back, so go ahead and give the search. So go ahead and give the search for Llyra your full attention. The Weaver's Guild, huh? You could probably teleport there now that followers can now teleport with you, but I'd like to see the optional dialogue here in these squares. Ask about Pearl Lane. While it may not be immediately obvious, conditions here have improved considerably as of late. Her Grace continues to support the rebuilding efforts of Garabanya, which has led the creation of jobs and meant for many locals, both here and on the other side of Belsiar's wall. Speak with Ruan. Some say money can't buy you happiness, but they'd never tried living without it. Those who call Pearl Lane home never had the luxury of choice. It's where the city's poorest live there, and as such are at great risk of turning. Knowing this, I expect Lyra came to learn from their plight. That's basically the equivalent to the slums of Midgar. Ask about the poor. In every society, there are haves and have-nots, and seldom is this divide more sorely felt than Ulda. Yeah, this is what I was discussing before. Whoops. Many of the young and able-bodied work for Lolorito as guards, though he earns more in an afternoon than most will in a lifetime. Do 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 do. I'm Lady Lilira. Alban, whatever are you doing here? Coda 2, well, I'm glad to see you both. Our meeting is not yet due to commence for several bells. What is the meaning of this? We're worried, and for good reason. These are far too dangerous times to be roaming out alone, Your Grace. Some things never change. But I assure you, I'm quite capable of looking after myself, and in my own city of all places. More importantly, I wish to observe firsthand how people have been faring of late, that I may be better prepared to participate in our discussion later. But I have finished, you'll be comforted here. Then pray allow us to escort you to more amenable surroundings. Would you care to ride on my shoulder? Oh, certainly not. You've already attracted more than enough attention. Well, it is kind of hard to ignore when Raubon is around. He kind of is a very commanding presence, you know? Let's see here. As per usual, well, it's always when I'm streaming that I start getting messages all over. I've had a feeling this surge would have taken rather longer if Raubon had been left to his own devices. I had every faith you and the commander would find her. I thank you all for making the journey here during these difficult times. And it is my pleasure to properly make your acquaintance. On behalf of the people of Eorzea, please allow me to express my sincerest gratitude for your continued dedication to our cause. With your respect, Your Grace, I'm just a soldier. Was a soldier. Still, I say, Commander Aldin would not make such a distinction, and neither will I. You yet serve your people and have provided solace to many of Alamigo's most vulnerable. If we're to deal with this threat, we must forearm ourselves with knowledge. I understand you come bearing information regarding the blasphemy and its victims. We have indeed. Now you see, it's all dates back to the Stormblood storyline. Hence the need to locate the families of Crania Lupi members who have fled to Than and Alan. There is no end to the struggles faced by Alamigan refugees, and those who once pledged allegiance to the Empire are no exception. But rest assured that irrespective of their paths, all be treated with an even hand, all be afforded such aid as I am able to provide. Yeah, the good news is Ul'dah is a bit better at those who were previously worked with the Empire and defected. I think it might just be a culture thing, since the whole point of Ul'dah is that they don't care about your background as long as you assist them in As long as you swear allegiance to coin and country, so they say. Yeah. Magnanimous as always, Your Grace. I may be so bold, I have a question. What do you have in mind for those most at risk of undergoing the change? I believe there is but one recourse. Earnest and open dialogue. While some are born into unimaginable wealth, others suffer great hardship and oppression. The circumstances of our birth are beyond our control, our fates subject to whims of the gods, some would argue. I once thought myself a prisoner to my fate, a figurehead, helpless to watch on as my people solved, a powerless puppet. I wanted nothing more than cast us aside, to free us all. But I failed for my naivety, and then was afforded a second chance for my privilege. Yeah, like I said, the council had treated her as a powerless figurehead for some time, but she eventually managed to take some power, although it's not all of it. She's not an absolute leader, by any stretch of the word. The world is unfair, terribly so, but we each have the power to push back against these inequalities and injustices, if not to overcome them on blessed occasions, to love our neighbor and share in life's bounties, to open our hearts and come together as one. Truer words were never spoken. But without the support of the people, such words were not but vain platitudes. Thankfully, my recent attempts to make inroads with the monetarists— yeah, the monetarists, that's the council I was thinking. I couldn't think of their proper name for some reason— met with some success, despite differing views on many subjects. We yet strive to find common ground. We've been pouring all efforts into aiding the families of Cranialupi, and while it seemed to help to a degree, some still succumbed and turned. Of course, they're not the only ones in danger. Alamegans everywhere, whether sided with the Empire, fought resistance, or were caught in the middle, they all suffered. They all wake up in the night at times, haunted by memories of death and despair. We all know what can happen if things are left to fester. Yeah, despair can cause quite a few problems. It's just that in this particular situation, people fall to despair or forces us to deal with some quite literal monsters rather than the usual figurative ones that despair causes. Rather than the legacy of the Imperial occupation will not soon be forgotten, but rather than seek to forget, mayhaps it is necessary to remember, to acknowledge and accept the truth of it, that they may properly mourn those they've lost. Aye, a remembrance. I propose we hold a memorial ceremony for those who died. Everyone, no matter who they were, what they did, let them be loved, let them be hated, but above all else, let them be remembered. And in remembering of the dead, in their honor and their sin, we, the living of Alamigo, may yet find a sliver of common ground. It is a noble sentiment, but bringing together people who have reason to distrust one another and risk inflaming tensions could be a recipe for disaster. Then again, we can't keep ignoring the merit in the room and do nothing to address the situation. Yeah, Marids are elephants in this universe, I think. Yeah, they are. I've got one as a mount. As long as we leave it to the individuals to decide whether or not to attend, I think it's worth a try. Organizing an event on this scale will require a great deal of effort, so I offer my full support. Once you know what's needed, come to me. We shall put the plan into action. Obviously, some will balk at the idea, which is perfectly understandable, so I'll be listening to their opinions as well. After all, we want it to be a ceremony that brings Alamegans together. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Forgive and forget is not something that should even be on the table, but that doesn't mean we have to allow hatred and all that to continue on. There are multiple options, and it's important to remember that. Or at least that's my take on the situation. And I was wondering, Your Grace, if I might ask your approach to, well, talking to people, winning them over? As you can tell, I am no politician, so I'd be grateful for any advice you could share with me. Why, I'd be delighted. As a matter of fact, I have a number of matters which I wish to discuss with you. And on that note, I suggest you and I return to Alamigo. Oh right, let's talk to these guys before we leave. Huh. Wondered Abba and Ale would say if I tell them I had a chat with Sultana. I can hardly believe it myself. The relationship between Ul'dah and Alamigo is one which I cherish deeply. It is imperative we coordinate our efforts in facing this crisis. To see the Sultana grow to become such a capable and compassionate leader, it brings a tear to my eye. And if you're wondering what caused her to gain some extra political power and rather some pull with the monetarists so that she wasn't a powerless figurehead was indeed the events of the Red Wedding. So the attempted assassination was pretty bad, especially since she is actually quite liked among the people. She was able to use that to gain some level of political power. But of course, she did have to work with those like Lolorito, who, while not exactly a pleasant person, is not beyond negotiation. And he's perfectly fine with working together with her as long as, he's not just giving stuff away. Nothing of note has occurred in your absence, which I expect is welcome news in and of itself. I knew Arenvald would make a good impression, but he's outdone himself. Not only has he found a new avenue in life to explore, but he's taken it with considerable aplomb. While his proposed memorial ceremony is bound to have its detractors, I have faith men who come around. Not all, but enough, I pray. For our part, we must stand at the ready whenever that may occur. I shall send word if there are any developments. Oh yeah, I was going to show the mount. Alright. Oh yeah. Marid. There was once a time when someone had told you they witnessed a Marid aloft, you could have had them committed to a sanatorium. Now they crisscross the skies, thanks in part to the magic carpets the Ananta fixed to their backs. The Ananta being the snake people that they train for battle. Laying the past to rest, Arnvald wishes to put your considerable reputation to good use. There you are, Coda. Commander Aldin has asked me to convey to you the following information. At present, we're looking into reports of missing relatives of the Crania Lupi. With the cooperation of the Silver Griffins, we're searching for any clues to their whereabouts. Thanks to the concerted efforts of Ragan Frid and the others, the general public has been willing to cooperate with our investigation. Though many still harbor feelings of distrust for the collaborators, they've grown more receptive to our cause on the whole. Arenvold's been making steady progress in preparing for the memorial ceremony. He plans to host a meeting between the various community leaders to go over finer details. In fact, he's wondering if you could assist in delivering the invitations. If you have the spare time, you should be able to find him in the Mercantile District. Anyway, that's all for now. I've only got a few matters to attend to, so if you'll excuse me, duty calls. Yeah, it's looking like the role quests are pretty much being a big recap in everything we've done so far. Honestly, I like it. It's been nice to go back to see exactly all these. Like I said, if you ask someone what their least favorite expansion of this game is, you'll usually hear Stormblood, but again, it's less because it was bad and more because one of them has to be in last place, although there's going to be a reason. I think it's because it kind of had some infamous problems at launch. Like, Raubon EX was a meme for a while because the instance, long story short, the story instance server got full, so very few people were able to actually complete the storyline within the first week or so. The team worked as fast as they could, but unfortunately, this is also why some feel that the login issues in Endwalker are unacceptable, because they've known they need to prepare for stuff like this before. And I can understand that. But yeah, the first major there was some login queue stuff during a time of Headsward and Realm Reborn's launch. I was not here for the Realm Reborn when I joined during Realm Reborn's patch cycle. I think around the time Leviathan was the newest primal battle. But yeah. So I was here during the Heavensward launch, and it was pretty heavy stuff, but nothing like what would happen in Stormblood, Shadowbringers, and of course Endwalker. So it's definitely pushing itself here. Definitely been ups and downs, but I should just continue this, shouldn't I? Thank you for coming. It should come as no surprise that planning a memorial ceremony for a whole bloody nation would keep man busy, but by Ralgar, this is something else. The hardest part's been gathering information on those who died in the war, especially when it comes to the skulls and other conscripts. And they're the ones we need to treat most carefully. If we don't acknowledge the crimes of our kin at all in all their painful truth, we do disservice to the victims, but if we let people paint them as monsters who did monstrous things we believe we would never do, well, we perpetuate the different but no less dangerous lie. As we're preparing the event itself, I'll be holding a meeting for members for each of the settlements. I've sent invitations to 2 of them, but hoping you'll help me with the last 2. There's Miraz Noon in the Peering Stones and Sarisha in the Vilnaya. I'll have one for each. Alright, so the the snake race there, and the to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they refuse, considering how their people suffer at the hands of the skulls. Hope I can remind them deep down we're all just trying to survive, protect our loved ones. We may have driven the Empire from our lands, but as long as we hold fast the grudges born of their attempts to divide and set us against one another, we'll never truly be free of their legacy of cruelty. With that in mind, I've included an account of my experiences with the Silver Griffins, the people I've met. Victims, collaborators, their friends, and their family, men and women who've lived through it all, survivors. Even if they refuse to join, at least they'll know and hopefully understand our reason for holding the event. Granted, I've not much practice in writing important letters, but I think they'll get the message. You being the one to deliver them should make a world of difference as well. Take care, won't you? I should drop off the one here to Miraz right away. Greetings, friend. It's been too long since we last spoke. What brings you to my village? Arnvald's. The weight of the words within is almost tangible, in addition to the weight of the paper itself. Forgive me, comrades, for I've lost my legs and to my age in my fight for freedom. So the rumors are true. I need not lead this letter in full to know its contents. I understand that Ragnfrid's volunteers are working to support the families of the lost in the war, which few will deny are worthy of cause, but to include the relatives of Kranilupi. The Skulls watched the Empire slay us in our thousands, still they turned their cloaks and fought for our oppressors. And you would ask us to mourn their deaths alongside their victims? You have every right to be angry and refuse. Arnvald wishes only that you could read the full contents of the letter. To dismiss it out of hand would be discourteous. Alright, very well. Truth be told, I think he would have, but if it wasn't us specifically asking him to finish reading it. Family. As Noon, my tribe is my family. I know all too well the responsibility that brings. I would do anything to protect them, and I mean anything. Loyalty, pride, conscience, my very soul, all are meaningless if I cannot ensure the safety of those I love. I suspect some skulls were faced with the self-same choice, but to see how their king suffered, I must understand. Not understand, though I wish I didn't. Their crimes will never be forgiven, they cannot be. But I and any others who are willing can offer our prayers and the tortured soul and the men they could have been. I accept the invitation, not on behalf of the M tribe, but as Miraz Noon. Though I'll put the question to my people, they may decide for themselves. I'm also eager to make the acquaintance of the person who wrote this letter. He does not want to turn a blind eye to the bitter truth, painful though it is. The meeting will be the perfect opportunity to take his measure. And yeah, I completely butchered a George Washington quote here. With that one I mentioned earlier. Long story short, after the American Revolution was won, there was a lot of discord in the ranks because, bluntly, they couldn't pay the people who were soldiers. So to calm them down, George Washington, decided to read them some of his, stuff he'd written. But he had to bring out his glasses. He said, "Apologies, but I've grown blind as well as old in my fight for freedom." We have long memories. We remember your deeds. Sarisha, welcome to what do you owe the pleasure of your visit. And as I suspected, there have been rumors that such a ceremony would take place. Although you've traveled far to make this invitation, I must decline. We cannot mourn the loss of the fallen if the Kranilupi are to be counted among them. Like the Kalyana, they chose to aid the Garlean oppressors, killing and bleeding for those who would pillage our lands, cowards and traitors all. Are we to assume the Kalyana who died fighting the Empire will be honored? If so, that's all the more reason for us to be improved. That is your right, and no one will say otherwise. I've only come to present a letter and ask you read it in full. Well, if you insist. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only reason they're even humoring me by reading is because it's me specifically asking. I doubt anyone else would have gotten them to do so. No one was spared the suffering of the occupation, not the resistance, not the collaborators, not the families of both. No one. So many would die in shame and ignominy. Having sold their souls only to lose everything is a tragedy and a lesson. If they are forgotten, the lesson of their folly is forgotten. For the sake of the land we call home, I will join you in remembrance and implore my people to do the same. In mourning, we may strengthen our ties to our neighbors well. By facing our past, can we build a foundation for lasting peace and prosperity? It would be my honor to attend the proposed meeting, and I look forward to personally thanking your friend, Arnold, for his dedication. I and my peers have much to learn from the example he has set. The Kiliana are basically another faction. Where are they? I believe they mostly live, here. Basically, yeah. For anyone who doesn't play this game, the Snake people here were one of the one of the factions you can gain reputation with. It mostly involves fighting the Kiliana, as mentioned. And in the end, you get, well, the Marid, actually, that mount I got. There's a few other things too, but in the general sense, the mounts are usually what most people do the reputation quests for. Sometimes there is a unique quest as well if you do all of them. It's usually just for flavor, but it does often give a special emote or item. So how did you fare in the fringes? I was able to convince them all. You said that about me? It's rare for me to get such glowing praise, especially from renowned leaders like Sarisha and Majraznu. More importantly, though, they agreed to attend the meeting, and I've got you to thank for that. After all, I imagine it's hard to turn down an invitation when it's hand-delivered by the Warrior of Light himself. Before I get ahead of myself, though, I must remember this is only the beginning. Bringing everyone together is one thing, coming to an agreement on an extremely divisive issue is another kettle of fish entirely, as her grace was quick to point out. But as she's taught me, if our cause is just and our hearts are true, those of like mind will surely answer the call. And answer it they have. While there are bound to be differences of opinion, I'm sure there's nothing we can't overcome if we put our mind to it. To that end, I was hoping you would join us, if you've time to spare. There's still a few loose ends Dragonfrid and I need to tie up beforehand, so we'll meet you in the palace as soon as we can. Just having you there will make a world of difference. Well, what am I doing? I don't have to go by the streets, I can just fly over the buildings. Such is the benefit of my flying cumulus. Royal Palace Guard. Here for the meeting, yes? Let us go. Representatives from all different groups and factions. So, while we all agree upon the importance of the ceremony, we recognize the inclusion of Cranialupi will be distressing for many. I too lost family at their hands and would never ask others to forgive and forget. But for all the crimes, they were Alamegans just like us. None made the decision to side with Garlemald lightly. Oh, come on, they had a choice and they chose to betray us. Who among us have not made difficult choices for Keith and kin? And do not forget that Fordola chose to stand between us and a primal just a bit earlier. What does that have to do with it? Hello, Kavy. Brothers and sisters, arguing will avail us not. The fate of Alamigo rests on my shoulders and yours, on those of every man, woman, child that calls these lands home. To uphold our honor, to strive for prosperity, to protect our loved ones, we all know the weight of these responsibilities. It was that self-same weight which drove many of our people to serve our oppressors, misguided though it was. And though they chose a different, unconscionable path, in the end, we all wanted the same thing. To deliver our families from persecution, that they might live to see one more day. Because another day in shame and self-hatred is still better than none at all. The regretful dead are survived by their despair, a despair which threatens to drag us all into an abyss from which there is no escape. Know that it surely we will if we welcome into our hearts out of disdain for those we cannot forgive. We Alamegans are not so easily defeated. We will stand united and conquer this menace. Every Alamegan who fought and died did so in the hopes that one day we would be free. And we are free. We are free. By the blood of our fallen brothers and sisters, we are free. Free to lock away the pain and pretend it has no power until it festers and takes us in our beds. Free to lay it bare and let it breathe. To acknowledge and mourn our people at their best and at their worst. The past is ours to bear, all of it, for ourselves and future generations, so they needn't suffer like we did. Let us make Alamigo a nation where no man's left behind, where we can make all the wrong choices and still be afforded the chance to make a right one. That went better than expected. We see a lot of important people coming and going around here, even though I should be used to by now, I can't help but feel nervous. That went better than any of us could have hoped for. You have my gratitude for your part in the proceedings. And we both know who the real hero of the day was. This was all Arenvald's idea. It was his words that finally won over the naysayers. Now that we have the community leaders on our side, we should have a much easier time convincing the rest of the citizenry. Of course, holding the ceremony is by no means our final objective. No matter what we say, some will refuse to attend. It's my hope, however, that it will still serve to provide a measure of closure for us all and to ease the plight of the vulnerable and ostracized. Speaking of which, you recall the incident with Fordola Alagana. The young girl she saved and her mother wished to thank her personally. Considering what happened last time, I have reservations. It would be a valuable opportunity to present a former skull in a more positive light. On the other hand, I don't need to tell you how unpredictable she can be, and that's before taking her echo into consideration. That's a conversation for another day. Go get some rest. You've earned it. Trail of Skulls. Salted Thavnarian cod. I'm not sure why it's giving me a fish out of nowhere. Would you like a salted fish in this trying time? Blasphemy Hunter may seem calm and collected from a distance, but you suspect something is amiss. Something terrible has happened. It's Fordola. She's escaped. She was accompanying a squadron out on training exercise. One moment she was there, the next she was gone. I didn't think much at the time. She's been acting strangely since she went to meet the mother and child. You know, the ones who wanted to thank her for saving the girl's life. When I told the commander about it, he went charging off to ask if they had any idea where Fordola might be. I thought about going after him, but when I heard you were headed this way, I reckoned it'd be better to send you in my stead. Godspeed. Well, I do have the Icarus spell to teleport myself to a party or enemy. Huh. Interesting, it can even target an enemy. I'll need to keep that in mind. While a handful of jobs in the game can teleport you to an ally or an enemy, very few can let you choose between the two freely. Arenvald. Oh, gods be good, what is she thinking? I know you, you're friends with the brave lady, aren't you? Have we done something wrong? Coda, I wasn't expecting to see you here. You've heard what's happened then. Just before Dola was beginning to earn our trust, she's given us the slip, and as you may know, she wears a choker that's designed to do exactly that if its enchantment is set off. It's supposed to prevent her from escaping. If I were to give the order, she'd be dead within moments, and she knows that. She took the risk anyway, so I believe she has a good reason. And that's what we're looking into now. We're hoping Clarel and young Lily here could shed some light on the matter. Oh, they finally have names. We'd like to ask about your conversation with Fordola, if we may. Oh, yes, of course. I know that she's the butcher, or was, at least. It didn't seem right to go without thanking her. That's why I requested the meeting, to express my gratitude and apologies. She's quiet at first. She just stood there as we spoke, as if she wasn't even listening. And then I mentioned the blasphemy. She looked at Lily and all of a sudden clutched her own head and cried in agony. The echo. It gave her a vision of who it was. Can you remember who we were thinking about at the time? A man, one I saw in the city. The what? Who? Did he have something to do with all these people panicking? If I can set off my echo, then I might get a good vision as to who it was. I think he did. While I was waiting for you, I saw him. He was by himself. He looked poorly, so I asked if he was alright, and he said yes. He had a nice smile. He got up and started walking, but then... He was shouting and screaming. I was so frightened I didn't want to talk about it, not even to Mom. I wish you'd said something sooner. I'm sorry, Poppet. This is my fault for leaving you on your own. The man who turned to a blasphemy, I'd wager. The girl saw him, which means Fordola's now seen him as well. There was one thing. When Fordola was having her funny turn, she said something. Charlie? No, Charlie, I think it was. I think that was it. Ring any bells? Can't say it does, but if it has anything to do with the skulls, Silver Griffins might have some information on him. We'd best have a word with Ragnfrid, then. You've both been very helpful. I'd also like to thank you for being so kind to Fordola. She might not have said it, but I'm sure it meant a lot to her. That was a... Well, I'm glad that quickly turned the mood over. I have a couple things to ask, so I'll catch up with you later. Charlet, you say? Yes, that name did come up during our recent investigations. As I recall, he served under the Viceroy during the occupation, and his whereabouts are currently unknown. He had an older brother named Ansfrid, one of the Cranialupi, which would give him a connection to Fordola. Is there anyone who could tell us more about him? Yes, an uncle. We recently helped find employment. He's actually the one who asked us to look for Charlet. Most likely find him working at the Sleeping Stones. As it happens, I was planning to bring him something to eat. I'll join you there shortly. Perhaps we should have asked what he looks like. That, might help things, yes. Still looking, eh? That's him over there. Yeah, note to yourself, when looking for someone, it's good to get a picture or description. I hope we're not interrupting. No, of course not. It's good to see you, Ragnfrid. My word, the Bull of Almigo and the Champion of the Alliance. What brings such esteemed guests to our humble, quarry? Eddie's my good fellow. We're here to wish to ask you about your nephew. Charlet, you found him? Not yet. No luck, then. Is there anything you can tell us about his childhood, perhaps? Wasn't much of a fun, I'm afraid. The poor boy's life was ruined long before he had any say in the matter. His parents and I swore allegiance to Garlemald to secure ourselves and our kin's citizenship. For all the good it did us here, living amongst our countrymen and true as pariahs. Took its toll on him and his brother. To be spat on as traitors by association, one thing led to another, and Ansfrid, together with most of his friends, joined the Imperial Army. That's how it started, you know, the Crania Lupi. Gaius' loyal little pups. You remember the names of these friends? Oh yes, they had quite the reputation. Growing up, there was Emmeline, Rudolph, and the angry little girl who grew up to become the butcher herself, Fordola. Charlotte was part of the group too, yes, but from what we've heard, he chose not to become a soldier. Wouldn't have lasted a day in trading. He knew better than anyone, of course. Not that it helped him feel any less guilty for turning his back on the others. Oh. He blamed himself for their deaths, for not stopping them when he had the chance, for not being strong enough to fight by their side. Maybe save them, maybe not, but he wasn't there. Wish he had been. Then one day he was gone. Wherever he is, I hope he's safe and well. So do we. Thank you. The information you've shared with us should prove useful. And for you, I brought some food. Why don't you call it a day and enjoy it with your family? So the one who was supposed to be too good for ended up being the heaviest despair of all. Let him have his peace for now. Let's get back to Alagana. I could probably just teleport over here for a faster travel, but it'll be more fun this way. What the? The Hidden Tier in Heather Falls. I think there's a fate chain here or something that ties into these. I genuinely don't remember. Though it's been a while since I've done Stormblood proper. Maybe I should consider streaming a New Game Plus. Once we know for certain what's become of Charlet, we'll have to tell his uncle. That little girl's worried about Fordola. As for the mother, well, it's complicated. Understandable, really. So not only is his brother a member of the Skulls, but Charlet himself was a childhood friend of Fordola's. I'm told he refused to support the Silver Griffins as well. He's been trying to make his own way for a while now. His brother and his friends died at Specula Emporius, save for Fordola, and the gods only know how he felt about her after that. Or how Fordola felt about Charlet after seeing his memory of him transforming into a blasphemy. Brother of a man she killed and a childhood friend besides. She thinks she's responsible for this. That's why she ran. Killed the beast herself. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm worried about her. Fordola's a survivor and outcast herself, exactly the sort of person the Silver Griffins are trying to support. You've seen for yourself the sacrifices she's willing to make, and if you can feel sympathy for her, maybe others can as well. I think we have enough information for the time being. Let's return to the city and plan our next move. As the saying goes, history is written by the victor, and I'll wager those who swore loyalty to Garlemald never thought they'd find themselves on the losing side. They did, and they paid a price. Maybe not enough for some, but we have to draw the line somewhere. To some, Fordola's a monster worse than any blasphemy, but I've seen enough working for the Silver Griffins to realize it's never that simple. I want to believe there's hope for her, like there's hope for us all. That's level 89, yeah, so the next one's gonna be the final one. Alright, there's absolutely going to be a duty to fight then. It'll scale my gear down, but that's fine. would be quite a blow for us to lose a warrior of Fordola's caliber. Hope we can find her before she does anything stupid. I've assigned a few of my soldiers to assist the Silver Griffins in investigating Charlotte's background. With any luck, we'll find him quickly, and then we can prepare for what's to come after. We're all but certain Charlotte is the one who transformed the blasphemy, so there's not to be done but put him in Abba's misery. As for Fordola, I've put Amnago and her troops in charge of tracking her. Once they found her, they have my permission to lend whatever support they deem necessary. When it comes to it, I may ask you to join the search. Until then, I ask you to take this opportunity to rest. Not sure why they gave me the fish, but I guess I can't complain. Gift of Mercy. Blasphemy Hunter is even more flustered than usual, and with good reason. Ah, thank goodness you're here. Commander Alden needs to see you right away. Follow me. Looks like we got a cutscene. We're gonna have a lot of cutscenes now. Alright, keep it contained until I arrive, but do not engage if you can help it, understood? That was Mnago. Her units found Fordola, or rather, she found them. In fact, I have Fordola in the search party's link pool. She wants a word with you. Codec time. This is urgent, so be quiet and listen. The blasphemy, my friend, is right in front of us. I've tracked him down. When he spotted me, he started heading towards Specula Imperatorius. Look, Coda, I need your help. In fact, she's asking for our help when she normally refuses anyone's help. Really shows how big of a deal this is. Charlie's never wanted to hurt anyone, but this thing he's become, I can't leave him like this. I have to stop him whatever it takes. Alright, wait till we get there. Don't engage, is that clear? I owe you. This is Amnago, can you hear me? We've got the blasphemy surround. Oh, it's on the move. Get ahead of it, but maintain distance. We need Fordola. What are you doing, Fordola? There's no time to waste. They need our help. Guess we're gonna be fighting it immediately. Well, I should be able to keep everyone alive pretty easily. Here we go. Radiata and Alagiri are not far from Specula Imperatorius. If we let the blasphemy slip through our fingers, it doesn't bear thinking about. While Fordola is determined to slay it by her own hand, we can't allow our recklessness to put the lives of others in jeopardy. Time has come for action. Are you ready? What's Ardenwald say before I do that? Oops. Ralgar's beard. Once she's got her mind set, there's no stopping her. She's convinced herself she's responsible. And then she created the blasphemy single-handedly. All I ask is she makes it out of this alive. She's come this far, I don't want to lose her. Time is for action. Are we ready? I'd say so, yes. Alright, here we are. There it is. Hold the line, as long as you can. Commander Alden, the Warrior of Light will be here any minute. Stay strong. Holy cow. I say he had a commanding presence or what? You've done well. Leave the rest to us. Yes, sir. Get the injured to safety. Coward, coward, traitor to them, to everyone. Oh crap, now I'm getting the flashback. We're going to get to see it now. The moment of the transformation from his point of view. Or is this Fordola's vision? No, it's Charlotte's. I wish there was another way. So do I, but fighting's the only thing I'm any good at. Makes me wonder how I ended up with such a clever brother. Too clever for my own good, maybe. Just the thought of going to battle and getting hurt and having to hurt others. Such a bleeding heart, our Charlotte. Sooner befriend a fly than shoot away, much less kill it. I could kill if I wanted. I could. But you don't. There's no shame in that. Leave the soldiering dust to Charlotte. We'll show the Guardians what we're capable of. Get the power and respect we deserve, and then things will change. They will, you'll see. Found a place for ourselves, and you'll find one soon enough as well. Alright, that'll do. Everyone who's enlisting, meet back here tomorrow. In the end, what good did I do? They gave it everything they had to give while I hid like a rat waiting for the storm to pass. Coward, coward, coward! Oh, ah! I see. Coward, coward. Better dead, better forgotten. It's not your fault, Charlotte. It's not. You didn't do anything wrong. And I'm the coward. I'm the traitor. I'm the butcher. I'll always be the butcher. Don't you dare, Fordola. You don't get to end it. You don't get to give up. I won't let you. You have a lifetime to make amends and atone, become something more than you were, but if you die here, you're everything they say, everything you believe. Is that what you want? He's not going anywhere. Arnvald, why are you here? There's nowhere else I'd rather be. I can't fight by your side, but I can cheer you on. I've seen in your past, Charlotte, how you were left behind while your friends rushed into battle. It's bloody hard, isn't it, wanting to do something so desperately, with every fiber of your being, knowing you should be able to, you should, but you can't. So you found another way to support them, your way. You did that too, didn't you? You were there for them, even if it didn't feel like it. But you were, Charlotte. You were. As a friend of mine once said, not all heroes are forged in the fires of battle. The history of All Amigo is written in blood. While we cannot change the past, we can change the future. And for that, we must all play our part. All of us. Let us grant Charlotte the peace he deserves. I think she'd rather hear that than anything else. Hansel and Emmeline, one day we'll be together again, but not yet. You'd never hurt anyone, Charlotte. That's not who you are. You'll be remembered as the kind soul you always were. Blasphemy, Charlotte. Interesting. This was actually the one that kept his name rather than getting a title. I'm counting on you. Then again, I think in the other cases they were named by the group, like the Indigo Beast was named beforehand, before we knew who it was. Okay, I can give it to him. Good. All your item levels been synced to 550. Draws attention, Coda. All draws attention. Coda, keep me in the fight. I can't die until I lay Charlotte to rest. And now we have a theme from Stormblood. I love it. 11 sphere elevation. I'm guessing I want to avoid this. Lightning aspect at ether. Keep away from it. Yeah, easy. Got to weather the storm. I could use Surecast to avoid that if I wanted. send them to the 7th gate. Can I remove that? Yes, I can. What's this lightning doing to me? Cast it sooner, quickly! Diagnosis. Here we are. Easy. Watch yourselves. Oh, if they're just going to that one, I'll go for this one. Together. We must be together. Alright, if they're going here, then ow. Not on my watch. Invincibility. As long as I hold out, he won't lay a finger on you. Oh, I see what he's doing. Crap, that's a bad use of Surecast, isn't it? I'm sorry for Dola. Yeah. Remorse. This is our chance. Let us finish him off. It's over, Shark. Okay, I'll end your suffering. I can shield her. Get behind me. To Zona's Bastion. Damage is taken reduced. Let me handle this. I can reduce damage too. Of course, Pickens of Cordola's Penitent's Blade. Got him. Excellent. This time we had to protect her. But luckily Sage is a mitigation healer, so I can protect others easily. The enemy is down. Is she actually seeing them, or is that just her mind finally being at ease now that he's defeated? Well, whichever it is doesn't matter. What matters is it's finally given her peace. Thank you. I mean it. To the surprise of no one, she almost never smiles. for the little girl, Fordola is returning as a triumphant hero. Sorry. I've been looking everywhere for you. Have you now? We put down the last remaining beast spawn for the blasphemy. 'Tis a pity we could do naught for those who turned. But we were able to prevent further casualty. But that we were able to prevent further casualties is nothing short of a miracle. It's astonishing too, looking back at Charlet's case. Although his existence spurned others transformed, he never attacked any settlements or travelers. Even when he went the change in the middle of a crowded street, those who were present escaped with minor injuries at worst. I think deep down, his compassion was what kept the raging blasphemy at bay. The only time he emerged from hiding was to journey to the place where his brother died. That's how she knew how to find him. Aye, it's clear he still retained some semblance of his former self. Another victim of the Empire's terrible legacy, along with his friends and so many others. The Crani Lupi wasn't the creation of the Imperials alone. Many of those youths sought a place with them because they were denied one with us. That's why the memorial ceremony is so important. It's our chance to face our past together, to give them in death what we couldn't in life, to not deny them a place in memory, even if it hurts or makes us feel ashamed. You'll be attending, won't you? I haven't been ordered to, or I suppose not. In light of your service to Alamigo, I intend to have the conditions which you are bound to ease. Providing able to obtain approval, you'll be granted a degree of freedom. At the very least, we should have no need for that choker. And there'll be no objections from me. You've done well. If I didn't know better, I'd think you were smiling. Well, I, for one, couldn't be happier her efforts are being recognized. It gives me much more motivation to continue my work with Silver Griffins and bring the people of Alamigo close together. I'll do my best to keep up with a certain little lordling, eh? I think we've done enough for today. Tonight we got some rest. That was... See, that was a pretty good capstone to the Stormblood storyline. These have been really good so far. Stormblood is definitely... For all of its flaws, Stormblood does have a good place in my heart. Not only because I liked how they had begun to make class design more interesting thanks to the job meters. Red Mage, which remains a favorite to this day, was introduced in there. It was also the one time that I tried raiding with a static for a while. I never beat the final tier of any of the 3 raids, spoiler alert, but I did manage to get through to the final one of each of the savage raids. The savage raids there. Calling them savage as for short is probably not a good idea, but you know what I mean. But I shouldn't get too sentimental. I already did that during the Heavensward one with the caster storyline, so let us continue. Allow me, both as guardian of Alamigo and your sworn comrade, to express my thanks for coming to our aid in these desperate times. No matter what manner of disaster may befall us, your presence alone is enough to keep the flame of hope burning bright. Aye, even someone is on the very precipice of despair, such as Fordola, can find salvation in your guiding light. Come now, you're laying on a bit thick, aren't you? I'm just a guy who happens to be a bit better than most. Am I? Both Nago and Arenvald said very much the same thing. I must be getting soft in my age, in my old age. In any case, it's safe to say we've all benefited enormously from your sterling work here. We couldn't ask for a better healer or a better friend. Usually not too much into healing, but I'll admit Sage has definitely... you felt pretty good. Our ambassador at Razat Han will be relieved to learn of our successes here. If you happen to cross paths, give him my regards, would you? I don't know which role quest I'll be doing next, but I'll be definitely be doing it at my own pace. But I'm definitely glad I was able to get this job going. It's been quite enjoyable. Oh yes, I need to go to Razat Han here, so... I could also just, you know, use the quest. Guard uniforms for Razat Han are rather interesting. They're obviously dragon-themed. Well, they were said to have been protected by a dragon after all. They just didn't realize it was quite much more literal. Ah, my Lord Koda, when you have a moment, I'm ever eager to hear about your adventures. I heard about you and yours traveling beyond the stars to avert the final days. Good work, that. Mind you, not all of our woes have vanished yet. I speak of the blasphemies, of course, for despair is not something one can easily cast off. Though we've come a long way, the battle's not yet done. Preventing further transformations won't be easy, but we're a damn sight closer to solving the problem than before. We've heard you've been doing good work in Alamigo and Ul'dah. Still, who better to tell the tale than the hero of the hour? Greetings, how goes it in Alamigo? We have defeated it. Eliminating blasphemies, helping organize moral ceremony, they've certainly kept you busy. Fine example of going above and beyond the call of duty. I'll be sure to send word of your exploits to Ul'dah. Wait till the Sultana hears about this. Our Grace will not be the only one welcoming the news. On behalf of the Grandiors, you have company and our allies, allow me to express my most heartfelt gratitude. You can now dye job-specific gear for any level 90 healers. More than guilt. I cannot thank you enough for assisting the blasphemy hunters in Alamigo for your work in addressing the root cause of the phenomenon. We as a country have been made to take a long, hard look at ourselves and the way we treat each other. Perhaps now we can pave a better way to a better future, as one. Allow me to offer my thanks on behalf of my comrades posted in Alamigo. With the blasphemy finally dealt with, they can breathe a sigh of relief. Domon. That's going to be the other half of Stormblood, since... well, it wasn't exactly 50-50. It's more 70% was releasing Doma from the Empire rule, and the other 30% was saving Alamigo. That was unfortunately one of the flaws, that it wasn't split up especially well, but it was still pretty nice that we were on the offensive for once, taking back land from the Empire rather than simply resisting them. To thank the notorious commander of the company of heroes who show his face after all these years. Alright. I don't know which tank I'll be raising if I decide to do them next, but if I do a ranged DPS, I'll probably do Dancer. Simply because that has a nice little rhythm game to make its gameplay engaging. Let's see here. Looks like it's about 2 hours. It's a bit earlier than I usually call it, but I think now's a good time to do so, so... let's... Here we are. Alright. Well, until next time, thank you for watching, hope you had a good time, and I'll see you later.